Most people never calculate the cost of emotion. Not really. They calculate the money, time, fuel, calories, risk, but they rarely calculate the energetic cost of reactivity. And yet, emotion has probably cost people more relationships, opportunities, health, peace, clarity, years of their lives than almost anything else. Because emotion, when left unobserved, is expensive. I don't just mean anger. People hear emotion and immediately think rage, shouting, explosions. But emotional reactivity is much more subtle than that. Sometimes it looks like impulsive decisions, doom scrolling, panic buying, people pleasing, overthinking, avoidance, shutting down. Needing constant reassurance, proving yourself right, reacting too quickly, speaking before observing, and trying to control everything. Most people are exhausted, not because life is impossible, but because their nervous system never truly powers down. And the frightening thing is, many people have lived this way for so long that they think it's normal. Right? Is that just me? I first started noticing this in the sea. Not spirituality or philosophy. The water. Because the ocean exposes inefficiencies very quickly. If you panic, you waste energy. If you fight the water emotionally, you burn oxygen. You tighten your body. You shorten your breathing. You lose your rhythm. And ironically, the harder you emotionally resist the environment, the faster you exhaust yourself inside it. that lesson stayed with me. Because eventually I realised humans do exactly the same thing in life. People fight reality emotionally all day long. Examples: traffic, weather, other people, markets, social media. Delays, discomfort, uncertainty. And every reaction costs energy. Tiny withdrawals all day. Until eventually people sit there at night saying, I'm exhausted. Really? But they're not only physically exhausted, they're emotionally leaking energy constantly. And modern life amplifies this massively. Because outrage has become currency. Everything now is engineered to provoke reaction. Headlines, algorithms, comment sections, fear cycles, comparisons, dopamine loops. The modern world rewards emotional stimulation, not emotional regulation. And if you stay unconscious inside that system, you become predictable. Reactive people always become predictable. That's why emotional regulation is power. Not because it makes you emotionless, but because it gives you choice. That's the difference. Reactive people think feeling something means acting on it. But awareness teaches, well, it teaches you something different. You can feel something without immediately becoming it. That changes everything, right? You can feel anger without becoming destructive. You can feel fear without collapsing. You can feel uncertainty without spiraling. You can feel pressure without abandoning yourself. That's not suppression. That's consciousness. Most people have never been taught this. They've been taught expression, not observation. There's a huge difference. Because expression without awareness can become chaos. And suppression without awareness, well, that can become illness. But observation creates space. And inside that space, better decisions begin to emerge. One of the biggest lies modern culture teaches is your emotions are always telling you the truth. Nah, mate. Sometimes emotions are conditioning, trauma, fear, exhaustion, ego, insecurity, nervous system overload. Sometimes your emotions are simply the body reacting to perceived threat, not objective reality. That's why two people can experience the same event completely differently. One person adapts, another collapses. The event wasn't the difference. The internal regulation was. And this is where life becomes interesting. Because once you begin observing yourself honestly, you start seeing patterns everywhere. You notice how certain people drain your nervous system, how certain environments change your state, how lack of sleep changes your perception, how stress changes behaviour, how emotional momentum builds, and how reactivity spreads between humans. You realise emotion is contagious. Panic spreads, fear spreads, anger spreads, but calm spreads too. A truly calm person can change a room, not loudly, quietly. Their nervous system becomes stabilising, and in a chaotic world, that is becoming increasingly rare. I think this is why so many people feel overwhelmed now, because they are carrying their own emotions, everyone else's emotions, digital noise, future anxiety, past regret, constant stimulation, without ever learning regulation. So they live permanently on always processing, always reacting, always consuming. You know, there's no silence, there's no pause, there's no observation, just stimulation. That's expensive. The older I get, the more I realise peace is not passive. Peace is skill. Calm is skill. Observation is skill. And those skills completely change the quality of your life. Because once you stop reacting to everything, you start conserving energy. You speak less carefully. You choose battles differently. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop needing to win every interaction. You stop feeding chaos unconsciously. Only human. And strangely, life starts becoming clearer. Not perfect, but clearer. I think many people are searching for freedom without realising emotional reactivity is the cage. Because if your emotional state constantly controls your behaviour, then the external world controls you too easily. A comment ruins your day. A delay destroys your mood. A number changes your identity. A disagreement destabilises you. That's not freedom, that's dependency. Real freedom begins when observation becomes stronger than impulse. And no, I'm not saying become numb. Far from it. Anyone that knows me, some of the calmest people I've ever met felt things deeply. But depth and reactivity are not the same thing. You can have compassion, intensity, passion, emotion, sensitivity without becoming chaotic. That's maturity. That's integration. The sea taught me something beautiful eventually. The ocean never panics. Storms happen inside it, but underneath there is still depth. And humans are similar. Most people live entirely on the surface of themselves. Reaction, impulse, noise. But underneath all that, there's another layer, a quieter layer. And the more time you spend there, the less expensive emotion becomes. Because eventually, you stop giving your life force to every passing wave. Emotion will always exist. But when awareness enters the room, emotion stops controlling everything.